What's happening, guys? Yes, what is happening? Where's my camera gone? Again! Jeez, we did this the last day as well, and yeah, we sorted it out fairly quickly. So give me 1 second there. We get this hot box off. Martin's World Hotline. We get that off the screen, and we get my video on. What? Why is it not showing me? Oh, yeah, I turned it off actually. Yes. Boom, there we go. Oh, feck's sake. Typical stoner start. Welcome, guys. It is 4:20. Happy 4:20 out there, guys. Just gonna pack up another bowl there as you do at 4:20 on this beautiful midweek. Oh, what's going on? Connor Mooney says, "Hear it before you see it." That noise is recognizable to a blind man. Nice, yes. Yeah, I've been told by a couple of people now that when they hear bong hits, that they automatically think of 420 news. That's a nice thing to be hearing. Consistency is key to achieve it. Yes, I'm quite consistent about our civil disobedience here and the old bubble up. Gordon O'Keefe, what's happening, Gordon? I see Greenbeard out in the audience as well. What's happening, GB? Who else is out in the audience? We got TK420, Podge is in the audience. We got Sean, Temple Grower as well. TG, what's happening, TG? Congrats on hitting that 1,000 subscribers, buddy. Great stuff. Guys, make sure you go over there and start watching TG's videos as well. Get his whole watch hours up, and you might learn a thing or two about growing the old devil's lettuce. Oh, and even breeding it, like, in fairness, like, credit to TG. Temple Grower for those who don't know. Let's blaze one up, yes, to TG and to everybody else out there, guys. Civil disobedience for Ollie today in the show. Oh. Sweaty fingers. Oh, been on the volcano for the last 2 days, so that's like the first bong hit I've done in about maybe the last day or so, anyway, at least. So yeah, that's quite nice. So welcome everybody. Billy Bonds joining in as well. What's happening now, my buddy old pal? Billy Bonds, my teammate. R420 supplies in the audience as well. What's going on, R420? Who else is out there? Keith Griffin, what's happening, Keith? Keith saying, what up, Martin and everyone? Ah, nice. Nice. Right, I think that's all of the hellos there through the comment box anyway for for now. We'll get back to your comments there in a small little bit. But we do have one headline I want to get to you. It is the fundraiser, which I announced the other day there on the podcast. Again, not going to really share this across all of the social media platforms and stuff like that. I want to keep it for the viewers here of the podcast. And yeah, I just want to keep it on the wraps. Just see how it works just through the podcast anyway, just by promoting it live. But this is the fundraiser raffle for my buddy Chase. Chase had to go to the vet there earlier in the week. He's home, he's doing well now, and we're just awaiting the results of the scan. But unfortunately, as a result of this visit, it brought with it an unexpected bill. As you all know, vets can be quite expensive here in Ireland, so it was costing 700 bones to sort that out. So a buddy of mine gave me 3 lovely gifts, 3 €100 prizes. So it's a brown envelope with a prize inside to the value of €100. Well, depending on who you ask, some others might value it at a bit more. But you know what, the real value is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. So yeah, there's Chase, and I don't know if you can like notice the photo there of Chase, like, but does he not look like he's just after an session there with Cheech and Chong? He's a bit yes, he's got those tight slits. Ah, yes. But yeah, we've got three incredible prizes there anyway for one of you lucky listeners out there. To be in with a chance to win, guys, it's 1 to 70 are the numbers, and it's €10 a number. Just private message me there via one of my social media channels, or you can even hit me up there on the Martin's World hotline. You can send a text message there through to the hotline, or an email. Oh, the hotline is in the wrong position there now. Get up above my camera. Have to move this around a little bit. Boom, there we go. Oh, no, it's on their chest. There we go, brought it front and centre. 085 816 420. That's the Martin's World hotline. Thanks to everybody who's entered so far, guys. There's a good few numbers left, but they are filling up nicely. So thanks to everybody there. You see the names up on board. Nice big blank slot there between 43 and 68, guys. So if anybody wants to start filling that in, do drop me a message there and we'll get your names up. Again, each one of those prizes comes with 2 king-size packs of raw connoisseur skins that come with the tips. So a very nice prize indeed. So there's 3 prizes there. If you enter once, you're in with a chance to win one of those. Or if you enter 3 times, you could potentially win all 3 if you're lucky enough. Once all of the numbers have been secured and paid for, guys, we'll go live here then on the podcast. We'll give like a 12, 24 hour heads up, and we'll do the draw live on air here using a random number generator. And we might even get 1 or 2 of you on here just as like independent adjudicators to keep everything above board and all of that, like, you know. So you know we're live then as well, you know. We get a couple of people in there and we're like, everybody, yeah, what time is it? Yeah. But yeah, we'll have a bit of crack there with that. And I was talking with the Cannabis Activist Alliance there last night, and the guys think this is potentially a good way as well for us to continue to kind of raise support there and funds for the campaign for the fight for cannabis legalization in Ireland. So kind of sorry we didn't think about this sooner. I was asking there, afternoon, Martin, we're having a talk here. I'm wondering, who's your favourite wrestler? Guys, it has to be none other than like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Come on, like. Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin it would have to be, I'd say. Yeah, he's the one who comes to mind first, but I do have a number of favorites there as well. X-Pac was another one that I used to be a big favorite of. The Hardy Boys, the Dudley Brothers, and happy fucking days there watching the old WWE. WWF, sorry, before it became WWE. It kind of went downhill after that name change, and then the split between Raw and SmackDown, wasn't it? They kind of split there. They had 2 little divisions there. That's when I lost interest, and it just got a bit too complicated. Like the storylines just got a bit. It was just easier to follow, and it was just the storylines flow through. I don't know. But yeah, any others? Here's a bit of one for you. My very first Thai boxing fight, I came out to, what song do you think? We'll get it up on screen there, but what do you think? Just trying to find the video there now of the fight. Brannock, Brannock. What's happening, Caron, if you're out there? I know how I'll find it. It's up in Bubbles. So keep the comments coming in there, guys. Let me if they guess the right answer. The campaign, the National Legalize Cannabis Day campaign letters to you, maybe. Right, before I hit play, I'm going to see what songs you have. Mick Foley's intro all the way, Martin. Mick Foley's was quite good, all right. Aaron Joyce is shocked as well. There was no mention of The Undertaker. Well, to be honest, as much as a fan of The Undertaker I was, I was big on Kane. Kane would have been like before Undertaker for me. Is that might come as a shock too. But yeah, Kane was sick food. Joke slam. Yes, and we can't forget the commentators too, man. Your man JR, like those commentators on the WWF are fucking legends too, like. The Little Pony theme tune. Go on away, John. Right, we'll break it for you. We'll let you know what it was. Here's the video of my very first Thai boxing fight without shin pads. Just a sexy boy. But yeah, we'll save your ears on that one. It's not the greatest of audio, but yeah, what a night that was. One to remember. But yeah, I came out to Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. Yeah, I like having a bit of crack with these things. Like, so there was just a bit of a jest there, like with the boys. Shout out to Shane O'Neill as well, who's the true sexy boy. But yeah, it was just a bit of crack. I love to have a bit of crack with this, and keep the humor alive, especially when we're going into the ring. There's a lot of pressure there. There's a lot of worry, and if you're having a little bit of a laugh and a joke, it really helps to make things just go that bit easier. So yeah, that was that was me relieving a little bit of stress and worry. Just the sexy boy. Yeah, the Heartbreak Kid, HBK. Yes. But yeah, there you go, guys. Maybe in some stoner trivia someday. What was the song that activist Martin Condon first came into the ring in Silver Springs all those years ago? Yeah, so let's drive on, guys. And I see lots of lots of comments coming in there. Paddy J saying 95 Dolly Parton. Good guess, though. Good guess. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Yeah, that would have been a close choice, all right. But no, it was Shawn Michaels. Couldn't think of any other one really like to be coming out to. I was considering Hollywood Hulk Hogan's. That was another one I was considering to come out to, but no, Shawn Michaels one. Like, it's just like, it's just too funny. All right, let's crack on with the news then. And forgive me again, guys, for the lack of lower thirds here on today's show again. Just going to run with the headlines from the articles. I've read through pretty much all of these already, and I'm just going to give you a brief kind of opinion, synopsis of what's within the article, and my own opinion and my own take on it then, as well as we always do here on the 420 News. So the first headline that I have for you today is how recreational drug use contributes to environmental damage. And this is an article that was posted up on the Irish Times, and it was covered by their crime correspondent, Conor Gallagher. And interestingly, when I first came across this, I was thinking, here we go. Another article which is just going to demonise people who use drugs as being bad people, because their choice to use this illegal drug, it's having a detrimental cost on the environment. And while that is like a little part of it, that they talk here about that some cocaine users will exclaim that they're caring and loving of the environment, but being completely oblivious then to the devastation associated with the drug that they're consuming. But at the same time, like they could also make the same argument within the article, which they don't, that a prohibitionist, the person who's out there claiming that they love the environment, but also supporting the prohibition of drugs, which forces cocaine producers to produce cocaine in the environment in employing methods whereby big vats of chemicals are literally just poured out into the jungle after the process is complete. So prohibitionists are also just as guilty, if not more guilty actually, in fact, than the drug users, for the environmental consequences associated with the use of the drug. It's not the drug user who's at fault. Because of prohibition, the drug user is unable to make a choice towards an ethical producer of the drugs. And UCC criminology lecturer Dr. James Windle, he gave a very nice contribution to this article, in fairness. Apparently James Windle, I believe, he wasn't over at the COP26, but over recently at the COP26, Ivan Dack told the Financial Times, told the COP26 that in order to produce 1 hectare of coca, almost 2 hectares of tropical jungle are destroyed in Colombia. And that's a big problem, by and large, because the producers of the cocaine, because of the nature of what they're doing, they're forced each time they go about production to set about a new virgin plot of land because of the authorities. They have to keep moving. And they keep moving then into these virgin lands, these nature reserves, because their production is unregulated. If we could regulate their production, like the people who are producing the coca flavor for Coca-Cola, they're not out there causing this devastation on the jungle, at least not in a controlled manner. They might lobby the government to secure a piece or whatever, but that's another problem for another day. They're not out there just destroying the jungle in an unquestioning way, and it's only because of prohibition that's happening. And it's great to see Dr. James Windle bring that argument into this article here on the Irish Times. As you go down through the article, they talk about legalization and how in America, even with the introduction of legalization, that the production of cannabis, it's after putting a bit of a tiny bit of pressure on the power grid, but still nonetheless, it's a price that's worth paying. Because otherwise, this power was still going to be drawn from the grid, more or less. But it's going to be stolen by and large. How much of the power is now being paid for that was once possibly being stolen over there off of the grid. And as well, the legal production of cannabis, it's done in a way in which the producers, again, with the dropping of the wholesale price of cannabis, it's pushing for these producers now to be less wasteful with their resources in order to be more efficient in their means of producing cannabis, so that the environmental consequence associated with the production of cannabis is going to reduce. And not only that, then as well, with a legal market, consumers have a choice. And excellent stuff by, again, Dr. James Windle, bringing up this ethical producers. He talks about in America where consumers of cannabis have a choice to buy from producers of cannabis, such as, and he names a few here, Raw Garden, who promise that their plants are grown sustainably with minimal harmful chemicals. That these plants are probably grown using full sun, no supplemental light. They're probably done using maybe a non-till practice where it's all about organic amendments, where they're actually contributing to the organic content of the soil rather than depleting it. So yeah, that's the benefit of legalization and regulation. So this is actually by and large, I would say that the fact that they got to close out on that argument there for how actually regulation and legalization are much better ways of addressing the concerns being brought up here within the earlier part of the article, where the environmental consequences associated with the production of drugs was a big price to be paying. But in fact, it's actually a bigger price to pay because of prohibition, and we can really do a lot to reduce that if we were to control and regulate the production of these drugs. So a great article, and go over there and give it a read if you'd like. But yeah, just have to say, well done to the Dr. James Windle out of UCC. Great contribution there to that article. Other news out there then again, guys, we go to another one, and this is an important one actually for you all out there as well. This is a case, it's coming out of, I believe this is coming out of Cork, a Cork man. It's a Cork man. This is a case of a man by the name of Christopher Carey, who's 34 years of age. And Christopher Carey was said to be observed by the Garda driving slowly and weaving in and out of, what did they describe it? Veering into a lay-by. So the guards pulled him over, and the guard observed that he had pinpoint pupils and kept repeating himself and seemed disorientated. So the guards, they've been doing what a cop does. She went and carried out a roadside drug test, and then brought him back for a blood sample to be taken too. And the blood sample found that he was 5 times over the legal limit for THC and 7 times, is it 7? 7 times over the legal limit for THCOOH, which is another metabolite there of of THC, which they test for in your blood. But anyway, the important thing to home in on in this one is like, as it says, the drug driving case struck out against the Cork man as manufacturer guidelines not followed on test. So guys, this is something, I hope you're all listening and paying attention out there. If you're a person who consumes cannabis and you go driving, you know, maybe 12 hours later, if the guards pull you over and they demand that you do a roadside drug test, like, go comply with it, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, do it quickly, because the problem here is that the guards are not observing you for 10 minutes, which is a requirement as per the instructions of the Drogger 5000. I don't know, does this case give room for people who've been punished in the past where this instruction was not being followed? But certainly, guys, going forward, if you ever get pulled in by the cops and they ask you to do a roadside drug test, like, let them do it straight away. Like, you know, get it done, and you have an opportunity then to contest it later on if you think that you're going to test positive. You know, don't tell the Garda to do their job and say, hey, you have to watch me for 10 minutes, because they're going to watch you for 10 minutes. Let them make the mistake. It seems like this mistake is commonly being made. I know a buddy of mine, he got pulled in, he got drug tested at the side of the road. There was no mention of them observing him for 10 minutes prior to the drug test. He was only complaining that the drug test took 15 minutes to do, as in they'd done the swab, analysed it. The analyzer takes about like 10 or 15 minutes for it to come back with the result. And that was the thing he complained about. They never actually made him sit at the side of the road or in his car for 10 minutes and kind of observe him, talk with him, or whatever it is that they're required to do for the 10 minutes. So this is now a grounds for your case to be thrown out. So yeah, comply with the cops. If they pull you in and don't want you to do a Drugger 5000 test and they haven't been observing you for 10 minutes, like, just like, try not to give it away. Like, you know, don't be big smile on your face and be like, yeah, no bother. Just be like, oh really, oh, do I have that? Okay, yeah, no problem, I'll do it, you know, and be kind of upset about it and just be like happy inside knowing the cop doesn't even know how to do his job. So this is big news here for Ireland, for the consumers of cannabis out there, because the Gardaí have not been following the instructions as per the guidelines laid out by the manufacturers. And it'd be quite burdensome for them to do it. And imagine, like, if every roadside drug test, you know, if they're doing a roadside mandatory intoxication check, that it now takes 25 minutes to process one person for a drug sample at the side of the road. That's problemsome. I can see them abandoning the Drogger 5000 sometime soon, maybe after this case, possibly, you know, because they'll become kind of unable to carry out their duties, you know, if they do this 10 minutes now, you know, and what was already a bloody 15-minute process. Do you know, for that 15 minute or 25 minutes now at the side of the road, how many cars are going to be driving past that checkpoint where the guard is going to be engaged now doing this mandatory bloody intoxication check? Like, it's great with the alcohol ones. Beep. Yep. Seconds they're explaining it to you and whatever. But that's how quick it is. 25 minutes? That's a lengthy wait. Imagine if you're a businessman on the way to your business meeting on your side of the road, and he's like, yeah, you have to do this, it's just a random test, just mandatory roadside mandatory test, 25 minutes. on the hack, guys, definitely take note of it. It's one that's definitely going to come up again in the courts, I would imagine, because I can't see 20 news. I hope you use this information wisely. And in other news out there then, guys, in the next headline, and sticking with drug driving, and it's not your typical case of drug driving. No, this is the case of a guard. This guard was suspended from duty following an alleged roadside test fail after a patrol car collision. So this cop had crashed their car, and after the crash happened, there was an investigation or a drug test at the side of the road, and the guard tested positive, not for cannabis, not for alcohol, but for cocaine. The guard tested positive for cocaine, so no bueno here for this guard. But again, it just brings to our attention the problem with the prohibition of drugs and the police, the people who are policing this also being drug consumers themselves. That's very problematic. Especially when you think that what power that gives a drug dealer over that guard. Let's just say, for example, if I was a seller of cocaine and I was selling it to, you know, Garda Doyle down the road, and Garda Doyle now, you know, I know you buy cocaine from me, Garda Doyle, you know, and I've got messages here on my phone, you asking me there at 3 o'clock in the morning for a bag of coke. Garda Doyle, come here, send me messages there as to checkpoints around the place, and if you don't, if I get caught at a checkpoint, man, I'm going to release these text messages there. Like, just think about the manipulation that they go on there. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And this isn't an isolated incident either, where the guards are, after being caught, being involved with the consumption of illegal drugs. Like, this isn't isolated at all in any way. So this is the headline there if you want to go read that article, but I just thought it was worth bringing to your attention. Guards suspended from duty. But as I say, it's not an isolated incident. Guards getting caught with cocaine, as this is a case that was posted up on Twitter there earlier by, I can't recall, Owl Night Owl. Brought up, this is a case going back from 2017. A female guard got caught with cocaine in a nightclub. And when she got caught, she identified another colleague as her dealer. So the guard was actually dealing cocaine to other guards. Maybe that's their way in order to kind of avoid this problem that I just brought up there. When you buy cocaine from a dealer, they're going to manipulate you. But when your dealer is actually another guard, well, that's a bit less problematic now, because you got something on them as well. You're dealing, you're selling to me, all right, but you're dealing, so that's a bigger problem. So there's big issues there within the force, and it just brings the question, the efficacy of is it efficacious, that to have these guys, is that the word? No, ethical is the word. Efficacious is for drugs. Is it ethical to have the Gardaí who are engaged in illegal drug use themselves be the police of illegal drug use? I think not. I think policing people's drug use is unpoliceable, and in fact just creates more problems, obviously, as we brought up here on the show time and time again. And it needs to be abandoned. We need to fucking scrap the Misuse of Drugs Act, insert drugs, all of them into our public health policy, in the same way in which we regulate alcohol and other drugs. And I reckon we'll do pretty fine. We'd have that. So yeah, we drive on from there, pardon the pun. And we go to a case in Dundalk, where a poor old musician, the music man who was caught with cannabis, and I was actually only talking with Simple Life Carter there earlier on this afternoon, and we were talking about this, how artists, are not allowed to explore their full potential, achieve their full potential there, I suppose, if their muse is through either cannabis or other psychedelics. But this musician, anyway, he enjoyed cannabis. And he was above in the Dundalk court. He was caught in possession of €100 worth of cannabis, and when in court, he replied, "I was caught, you got me." And sorry is a good one, when a judge asked him at Dundalk District Court last week if he had anything to say about the matter. Sean McKenna, with an address at Blank, who represented himself, admitted the unlawful possession of drugs at George's Quay on July 30th of last year. So this happened during the pandemic. And the court heard that the cannabis herb recovered after he was seen acting in a suspicious manner and was searched. This again, like, suspicious manner. He was acting suspiciously. He had a 100 bag of cannabis on him. He was terrified. That's what the guards mean when they seen the fella acting suspiciously. He seen the guards and he seen his whole life flash before his eyes because he was terrified. Oh no, my music career, it's fecked. You know what I mean? Like, he was gutted. But you know what, Sean, hopefully you're in the right line of music anyway, because for some music artists, a criminal case, for drugs can make their career. So if you'd like to come on to the Martin's World podcast and showcase some of your tunes, Sean McKenna, get on to me there. We'd be happy to have you. But the judge in this case anyway was a bit lenient with the musician, recognising that the pandemic had been quite a difficult time for musicians. And but still, despite the difficult times for musicians, them not being able to secure work, and it might be more difficult now with the rolling back, the reintroduction of restrictions again. It's going to be harder for them to work. Late bars are going to be closed early again, so musicians such as Sean are not going to be able to work. And the judge still slapped him with a 200 quid bloody donation, a donation to the tourist counselling service. And he said, "I'll discharge it." Like the fact that the judge said that part, "I'll discharge it if you pay the €200. Now, I don't know how he worded it, but they're quoting here the judge saying, "I'll discharge it." So he's effectively like threatening the guy, asking him for a bribe. I don't know how you would describe this, but it's definitely a threat. He's like, if you don't do this, I'm not going to do that. And that's going to be bad for you, you know? And it's just like, of course you're going to pay the 200 quid. Like, I wouldn't blame Sean for paying it. Like, myself personally, I wouldn't be paying it. Like, well, in that case, actually, I'll be a liar. I paid it right up until I got my first conviction. And then when I got my first conviction, I was just like, F you to the courts. Like, this is a charade. Bringing me in here 9 times, 9 donations to the court charity box. And then, you're giving me this stupid bloody conviction. Just like, you know what? The gloves are off now, and that's kind of what I did, and that led to my 3-year run from the law. Then after that, when I was protesting and not showing up in my court cases. But Sean anyway handed in the cash to the court and was discharged from the court. So lucky enough there for Sean. But again, as I say, Sean, man, if you want to come on here, maybe you've written a song about it, Sean, and you want to come and sing. I'd love to have a chat with you, Sean, as to that and what it's meant to you, and where you go from here, because he says, Sean says he might have bearing on him going to America. So he obviously has ambitions there, dreams, for his career. And, in America, as we all know, cannabis is by and large legal now in most places. Still on the federal level, not there quite yet, but moves have been made. Like even in recently, a Republican a Republican senator, I think it is, our governor, put forward a bill to decriminalize cannabis on a federal level. And there's a whole heap of things in there for like criminal expungements and stuff like that. It's a great bill, in fairness. Now, it's not overly focused on the capitalist side of it. It's all about the social justice side of it, which is great. I believe it's a bill from a senator or a governor by the name of Nancy Mace. I believe her name is, just recalling there, could be incorrect. Yeah, Nancy Mace, I think her name is. But yeah, hopefully that's successful. But it's still, it's just one of a number of bills now going forward over there in the US to seeking the federal decriminalization of cannabis. So very positive times ahead there. And obviously, if the federal decriminalization of cannabis happens in America, that's just going to have a spill-on effect here across the rest of Europe then as well. And moves have been made here in Europe as well, as we'll get to a little bit there in the news. And we drive on, guys, and we go to the next headline. And the next headline is that €400,000 worth of cannabis was recently seized at the port. I'm just going to pop up the article there now. Where is it after disappearing to? Oops, I moved it a while ago with the video for YouTube. Dublin Port. There we go. And the drug dog as well, picture there with the poor old drug dogs being used and abused. Lousy. So here's the article. Pop it up on screen there now for you in the independent.ie. And there's the cannabis pictured on screen. 20 kilos of cannabis that were seized above in Dublin Port. Worth €400,000. Quite a bit of money, great potential there for the Irish economy had this been legal, and the jobs that could have been created from it. But unfortunately, instead, we're expending money, using the resources, valuable x-ray scanners, drug dogs. Like these drug dogs could be trained to detect things like bombs, which could potentially be a risk. They could be even used to detect things like cancer and seizures in people as well, instead of going out there and taking away something that actually is beneficial for people suffering with those conditions. So that is the most recent seizure, large seizure anyway, here in Ireland. That comes off the back of a €360,000 cannabis seizure on the same day. And I believe there recently as well, there was another large seizure. So again, within the last 7 days, I would imagine there was well over €1 million worth of cannabis again seized on the island of Ireland. But despite all of these seizures, despite all of the seizures that are being made, the authorities, like, that they've actually no real shame in admitting that their efforts are like, they're not paying off, they're not working out as they would have expected it to work out for them. And that's the next headline. Sorry, I'm going to pop this up on screen there now for you. Boom, where the drugs seized at Ireland's ports could be as low as 5 to 10% of the total that have been trafficked into the country. And this is coming from the customs chief. So like, this isn't just coming from a nobody. Like, this is coming from like some of the big top guys. And they're highlighting the fact that we're completely ineffective. Like, imagine if you had a bucket and that bucket was only effective at holding like 5 to 10% of the water that you put into it. Like, how long would you continue using that bucket for when you're losing 90% of it? Like, of it doing what you were achieving to do. Would you not like try to rethink? Maybe there's a more effective way of trying to deal with this. Maybe. But it kind of comes across as what they're saying, destination, meaning that consumers is currently the case. And we've a number of councillors and TDs and stuff speaking up for it in this article. But again, like, none of them are actually calling out the elephant in the room, which is that prohibition has failed, and we need a new approach to this, because we can't keep throwing money at the problem of drugs and hoping that abstinence will prevail at some point in the future, when it hasn't prevailed in the last 50 years of bloody trying that model. When are they? Like, I see a few Sinn Féin councillors there, Councillor Dahi Doolan, who's been a part of the alcohol, drug and task force there above in Dublin in the past. But again, he's not talking any sense. He's like, we need to be harder on drugs. We need more guards. We need more customs officials. We need tighter security on our borders. He's of that belief. So go over and check that one out if you would like. They talk here about the availability, the prevalence of crack cocaine as well across Irish society, and that crack cocaine is available for as little as €10 a rock. And when cannabis is at a price of like €50 for 2.5 grams, I worry for the kids that are out there, like, the vulnerable kids who might say yeah to a dealer who says, hey, come here, do you want a crack rock there for a tenner instead of buying a bag for 50? Do you know? I really do. Like, there's a lot of vulnerable kids out there who don't know any better, and they would quite easily make that silly decision to kind of go over there and try out these other drugs when offered them. So it's a quite lengthy article over there, but you can check it out if you would like. But again, there is no call to the end of this. It's just more of the same. They're like, oh yeah, we need more operations named after ladies. Yes, more Operation Taras. Insanity. Absolute insanity is what it is. So there is a video at the moment, guys, that I would like to bring to your attention. And I'm going to quickly just skedaddle out and bring Alexis to her. But News Talk recently done coverage of the joints which were sent out in the mail. And to my delight, and this is why I'm just going to take the opportunity to reshare this video.
Having been inside
I'll pause that there now. And this is from News Talk, which is a national radio station here in Ireland, if you're not aware of what News Talk is. But as part of the National Legalize Cannabis Day, the campaign where we sent over 200 cannabis joints to every politician in Ireland, all the TDs at least anyway, and to the president and to a number of select media. Well, News Talk were one of those select media, and you're going to see here the presenter holding the joint and the letter which he received, and I thought this was really a true highlight of the campaign, because not only did the presenter do an okay job there with covering the topic, they had on Dr. Garrett McGovern, and Dr. Garrett McGovern, really, who is man, if I could only be just half as good as he is, like, at arguing, I would be doing well at arguing for the end of legalization and or the end of prohibition and the introduction of regulations for controlling the problems caused with drugs, but Garrett McGovern done a great job. So I'm going to leave you with this clip here this segment here from their show, as I just run my errand there. So I should make it back, hopefully, guys. Fingers crossed. Hey, Alan Robinson. Oh, John, what's happening, Alan? I thought John was taking the piss out of me there again, because I had to run for 10 minutes and he wanted you to sit in. I thought he was just reminding me of the time you were hosting here. I should have an open link there and just get you in for the 5 or 10 minutes there on the Wednesday and the Friday. We should get somebody in there anyway, so that we can fill the gap there as I run the errands. Surely somebody out there would like to cover some aspect of cannabis news, and they're not afraid of kind of getting on behind the camera. I would love it. Alan, do you know, if you would like the feature here, man, if you got to want to cover the Northern Ireland news, man, twice a week, 3 times a week, I would love to have you, buddy. But guys, I will leave you with this news talk radio clip covering the National National Legalize Cannabis Day campaign. I'll be back very shortly. I'll make it bigger so that it's not so small.
Today I got some drugs in the post, actually, for the first time, as far as I know. I got a joint, and yeah, it certainly is a real joint, judging by the smell of it anyway. It's fairly flat. It's kind of two-dimensional, having been inside a letter, and it came from a group of people, including Cannabis Reform.ie, Relief, Artisan Coffee Bar, Martin's World, and others. And they want National Legalize Cannabis Day to be celebrated. They say this is the 20th anniversary of this action. It was started by Luke Ming Flanagan back in 2001, now an MEP, and they say that they have yet again engaged in this campaign of civil disobedience in the hope that the government would end this inhumane prohibition of a plant which, when used correctly, can be incredibly beneficial. There's plenty more besides in this letter, but to discuss some of the issues around relaxing the rules when it comes to cannabis, I'm joined by Garrett McGovern, who's a GP specialising in alcohol and substance abuse from the Priority Medical Clinic in Dundrum. Garrett, you're very welcome to the show. It's good to talk to you. I understand you're a GP more than a legal scholar, but you might just, first of all, because I understand you'll know this better than most of us, the difference between legalisation, which is what this group of people are looking for, and decriminalisation, which is what other people talk about.
Yeah, so these two terms are frequently kind of conflated, which doesn't help the argument. So I suppose we'll take decriminalisation first, and that is not legalisation. So that basically means that the drugs would still remain in an illegal market, but the possession of those drugs wouldn't be prosecuted. So the person wouldn't be criminalised who's found in receipt of those drugs. So this could be cannabis, could be cocaine, it could be heroin. Legalisation is a completely different gig altogether. I mean, you have to look at alcohol and tobacco, and if you know what alcohol and tobacco legalisation is, it's fairly easy to understand what cannabis legalisation might be. So there's a proper market, there's quality testing, there are sales, there are jobs, it's not criminalised at all anymore. And if you look at the US, I think there are 19 states now in America which have legalized recreational cannabis, and there are going to be more coming downstream. So that's kind of the difference between the two. My own feeling is we're not going to get legalization anytime soon. I don't think there seems to be a resistance to it. I personally would like to see cannabis regulated, but I'd like to see it regulated properly. I don't want to see any. I mean, the area that I work in, obviously, I treat people who have cannabis problems, and I don't want to make those cannabis problems worse. But I also treat many people who are merely seeing me for the mere fact that they've been prosecuted, and really, in many cases, they don't really have that much of an actual addiction, you might say, to cannabis, and yes. I don't think that's right. So I'd like to see it regulated and regulated properly, I suppose, Kieran, is what I'm trying to say. Criminalisation is a no-brainer. I really don't think anybody in receipt of drugs for personal use should be criminalised, and that'll always be my view. I won't.
Yeah, I should say that this letter puts it, I think, well. They say, be advised that this product you're holding in your hand was sourced from an unregulated market, and you as a consumer have very little protection. There's no guarantee that this joint contains any cannabis, and if it does contain cannabis, you as a consumer have no idea as to the potency of that cannabis, and this makes dosing incredibly difficult and could put you at risk. That's the argument in favour of a regulated market, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about knowing the dose. You're talking about knowing the other constituents in cannabis. And I know that if you look at the research abroad, and the problem we have with this is the very polarizing argument, because you will get people coming on who, in my own profession, who will say, no, that doesn't work. It's, nothing but problems in Canada and the US. But if you look at the research over there, I think we have to be honest about the research coming out of it in terms of outcomes. It's very mixed. And it does tell you a little bit about the way research is kind of done. I mean, I often think sometimes that research, people who set out to find fault in cannabis will find will the outcomes will be what they want it to be. And likewise, people who think legalization is great. So there's a lack of kind of honesty in this whole area. I think we have to be kind of upfront about this. And you have to remember as well, Kieran, we're in an environment and a paradigm in Ireland where it is illegal. So any of the harms that are currently occurring in Ireland can't be blamed on legalization. They have to be blamed on prohibition. And I think we have to be honest about that. And one thing I do see an awful lot where people are very much in the prohibition corner is that they will talk about how bad legalization is, but they actually don't talk at all about how bad prohibition is.
Yes.
The very paradigm that cannabis is regulated under.
Yeah, but one of the things they do talk about, and you mentioned people in your own profession, Bobby Smith, I know you've spoken, you've debated with him before, the psychiatrist, Ray Wally, the GP, as well, another GP, well-known GP, formerly of the IMO as well, who would appear on this show regularly on different issues. They've both been quite vocal in opposition, maybe, or they might not like it described that way. They might say that they would like just more debate about how this would all work. And I think the phrase they've used is that we're sleepwalking into legalising a drug that they say has really negative side effects.
I don't think there's any doubt that Dr. Wally and Dr. Smith want cannabis to remain illegal. I don't think it's about necessarily more debate. I think there is more debate. I don't see either of those doctors shifting on it. But then again, they could accuse me of not shifting on it either. But I would like a debate really where we review drug laws according to the evidence. I mean, we should be looking at the 1977 Drug Misuse Act and asking, right, what can we do with this? It is a very old act, 1977 now, it's 44 years old. It's never really been reviewed. And, I work in an area and I work in some very marginalised communities where, they're ravaged by illicit drugs. And we don't seem to change that. We seem to kind of just keep going and, hoping in some way that one day we'll wake up and it'll all go away. Well, it isn't going to go away. The people are dying, in those environments. And
but Garda,
illegality of drug
is the danger that they're ravaged then by legal drugs?
Yeah, I mean, look, can I be very clear on this? I treat more alcohol than any other drug in my own clinic, and we haven't got alcohol regulation right, but I often do say, because I have heard people use that argument, and I would say, well, if you think the drug wars are bad, could you imagine what the alcohol wars would be like? I mean, if you legalized alcohol, and we have evidence of it back in the 20s in the US in prohibition, I don't think we can do that. Can I say this? We're never going to get a perfect model of either. That's the problem. There's going to be harm, there's going to be addiction, and I just think that we've got to look at our drug-related deaths and our alcohol-related deaths. We're very, very high in the EU, and indeed worldwide, in terms of where we stand in that, and we have to look at the legality and illegality of drugs and see what contribution is that making to these deaths and harms.
I'd like to hear your take on an argument I've heard, and it's that the supervised injection centres are actually the wedge that opens the door to decriminalisation, because essentially the argument being you'd have to change some of the laws around possession if you were going to operate these centres in Ireland. You couldn't have the guards roaming around just outside the front door kind of arresting people for having a little bit of drugs when we're encouraging them to go into these centres with drugs. Do you think that there's truth, there's merit in that argument?
I don't, I suppose, because I see that, I don't see that through that prism. I kind of see it in terms of, the safety of our, streets and alleyways. I mean, you only have to walk around Dublin City and you'll see strewn needles, for people, and particularly young people, to be exposed to. And I see it all too often, people in public car parks injecting behind cars and stuff like that. So I just looked at it for a safety point of view, in terms of bringing people out of a very undignified area who are going to be injecting anyway, Kieran. Let's be straight about it. There's no point in pretending we're going to educate them out of it. There are huge social issues there, huge social inequality, problems that will never be fixed overnight. And it isn't a panacea, we know that, but it will at least keep people alive and perhaps, link them in with other services. It sounds very grim for people who don't kind of understand that argument, the idea that you would give people a place to inject in. But I mean, if you look at the 100 or so centres worldwide, they seem to be, well received.
But do you suspect, though, and maybe I kind of worded that question poorly, I mean, do you suspect that that's the first domino that has to be pushed? Because, if you get the supervised injection centre over the line, you have, as a consequence, some relaxation of the rules around possession, and that's the kind of the domino you push that you get to the point of decriminalisation.
Yeah, well, I think decriminalisation should be fairly straightforward.
Yep, I'm back. Apologies there for that, guys. Hopefully I didn't leave you in silence for too long there. Anyway, Alexis is down at her musical drama theatre classes, or effectively acting classes. But yeah, a little smoke break there, I believe Hans says nice. Yeah, Alexis was delighted there going down the road in the car. She was like, "Oh, can I comment? Can I say hi to everybody?" So yeah, she enjoys the show and coming on and interacting with you as well. She was having a good crack there and high and homegrown as well the other night. So right, we're back. I said now a bit of hydration, and we'll touch off with some other news, and we have a couple of positive news headlines there lined up. So nice one for sticking around, guys. Yeah, you're in for a treat. Some of the good stuff coming your way. Oh, but yes, Garrett McGovern and Kieran Cuddihy, I think is the presenter's name. Great discussion there. Again, as I said, I think that was the highlight of the National Legalized Cannabis Day campaign, and having that contribution there by Garrett McGovern was priceless, really. Garrett, just given his position, he's an addiction expert. So again, if he's saying pretty much the same things that I'm saying, so that's really reassuring. He just says it with a bit more articulately, and obviously with a bit more of an authority to do so as well. Being an addiction expert, he's coming on there and he's just like completely bashing the Misuse of Drugs Act, completely bashing the prohibition of drugs, and effectively calling for the control and regulation of all drugs. Like, well done, Garrett. Like, I love hearing Garrett come out and speak on this issue, because each and every time he makes such a wonderful contribution. Albeit, he's not as optimistic as change, in terms of like how quick or how far it is from us. He thinks it's going to be another couple of years. But still, nonetheless, he does believe in change. It will come. He just believes, it's going to be a slow process because of, one or two of the few mentioned there, Bobby Smith and the Mary Cannons. These people are really digging their heels in. And trying to create a name for themselves, and they're really resenting the fact that cannabis has been legalized around the world. Tinkle think the addiction to power is the worst addiction in this world. Yeah, that's so bloody true. And there's nothing gave people more power over the masses than the prohibition of drugs. Like, each and every one of us out there, we desire an altered state of consciousness in some form or another, whether it be through the consumption of a substance, whether it be through the exertion, the physical exertion, of extreme physical activities, pushing yourselves your own body that interact with the endocannabinoid system. And one of those is anandamide, the bliss molecule, Sanskrit for bliss. That's just within our own body. And to criminalize that, it gives the authorities so much control over us. The fact that you're walking down the road, you smell like a bit of weed, or you're acting suspiciously, a cop can say, "Hey, stop, let me search you." It's like, what? Why? What's up here? Like, imagine it being for anything else. You're walking down the road and you have a rainbow flag, and the cop wants to search you. It's like, well, you're only searching me because I have a rainbow flag. If they could like search you for gay stuff, like if being gay was still illegal, I'm talking about there. But yeah, you know what I mean. But anyhow, just looking through some of the comments there. John Finney, coercion, I think, is the word you're looking for, Martin Connon. Coercion. Together in large numbers, they end up leaving the place tidier than when they arrive. Shout out to Steph, Wes, and the rest of the Tidy Buds crew. Nice one, John. Yeah, dead right. A very concept after ourselves as well, Tinkle Tink, or Anthony Mooney. Funny that the addiction experts all seem to agree that the war on drugs is far more harmful than cannabis ever could be. Yeah. And I would definitely say that Garrett McGovern is one of the leading addiction experts in Ireland. At least he has his head screwed on anyway, and he's thinking sensibly and logically. Unlike some of the rest of the people who are just like fearmongers and completely fear-driven. Oh, also, guys, quick shout out there to the Azores Islands and the other nations out there that are currently celebrating 420. It's currently 420 in Azores and Cape Verde. So let's blaze one up. Just spotted it. I should do what the boys have over in High and Homegrown, a little ping that goes off. What are you using, boys? Are you just got something, an alarm set for 4:20, or the 20 on the 20th past of every hour? Ah, yes. Yeah, Alan Robinson as well saying Dr. Garrett McGovern is a legend. Yeah, I was supposed to have Garrett on actually as a guest a number of months ago, but there was a football match on, and Garrett loves his soccer, and he's like, "Can we reschedule?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure, no problem at all." And it's just been on my to-do list for a while now. In fairness, to get him on the podcast, I believe I wanted to get him on at the time to speak about the Irish Medical Cannabis Council, which was a group that established themselves there early last year. But unfortunately, it just never happened. But we'll have him on very soon. I think it's very timely to have him on now at this stage after his recent contribution there on News Talk. I have to thank him for it and commend him as well on such an excellent argument he gave there in the 10 minutes. You know, it'll really help to open up the minds of people out there. And I definitely think, you know, by and large, the public is on our side as well. We've a few fence sitters out there. We've a few staunch no's who are not going to change no matter how much argument you put in front of them. But I do believe that there's like 60 to 70% of people out there, by and large, would support reform in order to kind of better enact harm reduction around drugs. Monsieur, I'm having a major chat with the doc. ASAP might record his advice. Nice. Casa de Strugus is out there as well. He says Garrett is a hero. He is, in fairness. Like, I just have to give a shout out to Garrett as well for just like how cool and laid back he was there on the talk he done with Gino Kenny and a few others. Was it like a few months ago at the start of this year? Actually, that was. And he's just like lying back on his couch, like, you know, as if he's like just chilling watching TV, and he's like giving a national presentation there, like through the People Before Profit and to an Irish audience. It's like, yes, go on, Garrett. So cool. Made all the better then that when he sits up and he actually talks, like he fucking knows his stuff. Miss Stowies, guys, says hit that like button, everybody. So make sure you listen to the man there now. Nice one for the support there, Mustawes, legend as always. Hit that like button, guys. We don't want to upset Mustawes. So in other news out there that I have lined up for you today, guys, we go to Morocco, a place that I would really love to travel to. And unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of this recent seizure, but the authorities, not just the authorities, the actual army, the army over in Morocco have intercepted 800 kilos of cannabis resin as it was being transported over the border. Now, what direction it was going, I don't know. Was it going into Morocco or out of Morocco? I'm assuming it was going out of Morocco. But the army there have intercepted 800 kilos of hashish. And what a shame that is, because like that could have brought a lot of joy to people out there. It says here the army detachments and units carried out in the period of November 10th to 16th several operations against crime, resulting in the arrest of many drug traffickers and the thwarting of attempts to smuggle more than 8 quintinals, which is a quintinal is 100 kilos. I only learned that earlier. So 800 kilos of cannabis into the country through the border with Morocco, the Ministry of National Defence said in a report published on Wednesday. So that was out of Morocco and probably into one of their neighbouring countries, maybe into Egypt or something like that. But again, you know, they're talking here that this was a large operation carried out over several days. They mentioned the fact that they've arrested many drug traffickers. But quite often, like these drug traffickers, like these are just villagers, local villagers trying to get by in life, trying to make an extra few pound in order to kind of sort out the land, you know, in order to buy the seeds for next year's crop, you know, maybe to get some fuel there for the tractor. And of course, most importantly, put food on the table, you know. So these drug traffickers, as they call them here in the articles, you know, if you were to actually have a picture of them there, they were probably just the local farmers, the local producers of the fine hashish that comes out of Morocco, you know. And it's really shameful to kind of think that the army then of all things is out there targeting these individuals. Like, imagine how terrifying that must be. you're out there going through, I'd imagine, the desert, probably going from Morocco into Egypt there, and you have the army, like dudes in fucking helicopters and jeeps and machine guns and shit flying all over the gaff, and all you got is some hash, like you're on the back of some camels, and you got the army after you, like, you know, it's like imagine the good that Morocco could be doing for their citizens if they just opened up the production of cannabis over there, just legalized it, decriminalized it anyway, right across the board, and allowed the locals to produce it and to be able to export it then online. You know, even like they're quite limited in where they can export it to at the moment, but I'd imagine there's a massive, massive market over in well, in America. No, probably not in America actually anymore, because they do a lot of production there already, but still, nonetheless, you know, if you were to have some authentically produced Moroccan hash, I would imagine it would still sell like fucking hotcakes over there in America. You know, it mightn't have as much of a demand as what it might have once had at some point, but still, nonetheless, I would say the people over there would be like, yeah, I would like to get some of that Moroccan traditional made hash, you know, be made by a farmer who's possibly had the knowledge of how to do this process handed down to him through the generations of his own family or her own family, you know. I shout out to Ashton out there as well. Ashton spent some time in Morocco. Should get Ashton on here sometime to talk about her experiences. I wonder if she come on. We'll have to ask her. But yes, let's blaze up this bowl for the guys out in Azores and Cape Verde, because we're after well rolling past 420. Miss Dawes says, makes sense. Must be tons leaving Morocco after Croptober. Yeah, that's so true. Like, I'd love to know how much a hash actually comes out of Morocco every year. Do you know, I would imagine what the authorities seize coming out of Morocco is probably like closer to 1% of what actually leaves there. And man, they make some big seizures down there. Like, you know, they'd be seizing it by the ton, you know. But yeah, let's blaze up, bowls up there to Azores and Cape Verde. Little civil disobedience coming your way, guys. Oh, tasty. Actually got a bowl of 8472 in there now. TG, if you're still out there in the audience, buddy, probably gone back to work and all at this stage. But yes, a bowl of 8472 there. Beautiful stuff, TG. Auntie Mooney says, as you said before, Martin, the psychiatrists of Ireland who want to keep it illegal are also one of the few groups who actually benefit from prohibition. Yeah, so very true. So very true. Monsieur Foy says, talk to me if you're going to Morocco. Fez is the spot. Mountain tours of fields. Be careful though. €100 or €100, 100 grams. That's what I have to be careful of. All right, that's so tempting. Like, you know, imagine the bowls you could be able to pack. Like, you'd be doing some silly things there when you're getting 100 grams of hash, like for €100. Make some killer bloody cupcakes. Imagine the yogurt you'd be consuming. Great fun indeed. Croncy says, I was in Rabat, some of the best hash I smoked in my life. That sounds like a nice trip indeed. I know Cassidus Drogas, I think he shared with Witchy his story here on the podcast before, but Morocco sounds like a hell of a place. Podge 85, I know a man who travels over there and lives there for a few months because so cheap he loves his opium. Interesting, yeah. Man, I always say, like, I would be curious as to visit an opium den and try a traditional opium pipe, you know. I would be just curious to it, like. Everyone's like, people are like, oh, Martin wants to do some heroin. No, like, I'd be curious as to try some traditional opium pipes, you know, in that sense, and just see what the crack is. Teresa says, you're still on. Was in Galway. Didn't think I would catch you. Yeah, still on, Teresa. I had to go drop Alexis to her musical drama theatre there a bit ago, so I filled the gap there with a 10-minute clip from News Talk covering the recent campaign there by myself and the Cannabis Activist Alliance and Relief So there was great coverage of the campaign up there on News Talk yesterday with Dr. Garrett McGovern. So yeah, we're still around then covering some more news. So in other news then, guys, going back to Europe then, and we go to Malta first, where in Malta the health minister seems to be a lot more sensible than our own health minister here in Ireland. Unfortunately for us, but the minister over there in Malta, he's made some very sensible comments in the Maltese Parliament. When he basically was kind of pointing out the fact that cannabis users currently have to resort to the crime in order to engage in their drug of choice, and that's not logical. That's not a sensible way of achieving harm reduction in as described by Bonicky. I don't know how to pronounce his surname there, Bonicky. But he basically pointed out the fact that having cannabis illegal is it's irresponsible really of policymakers, giving the rising popularity of cannabis over there within Malta. It's becoming a very popular drug of choice, especially with the younger Maltese population. And he's kind of pointing out the fact that, like, do criminals ask children for an ID card when buying cannabis? And the answer to that is no, they don't. So he made some very logical arguments there within the Parliament, albeit under the current proposals that are there under the law. More than 7 grams of cannabis will still be illegal, which is problemsome. But still, nonetheless, like there was some sensible comments being made there in the Parliament. He said that those making use of cannabis have no choice but to resort to criminality, either by growing the plant illegally or to buy it from traffickers or criminals. Only God knows what quality of drugs is being sold. That's the real fucking sensible thing that he's saying there. Like, nobody knows what quality of drugs is being sold. And then he goes on to point out as well, like, do you think that criminals will ask children for ID cards? And it's no, they won't. So very well pointed out there within the Parliament, and very sensible debate happening, or discussion happening over there within Malta. But still, there is like some not really sensible things there, but let's hope that they earn this out. I'll make an effort there maybe to touch with one or two of the activists on the ground there. Met one or two of them while over in Malta last year. So maybe one or two of them might be willing to come on and have a conversation here with me on the podcast around what's actually happening over there, and if they're actually happy with these recommendations that are being made, or if they see them as being problematic. Some of the recommendations include a limit of 50 grams of cannabis in the home, even though you're allowed to have 4 plants. Makes no sense. And also a limit of 50 members of a consumption club or a social club. So some silly recommendations still be made, but still nonetheless, the CM looking towards ending the prohibition is positive. And we go from there then, we go from Malta to another European destination. And this is a big one really, like this next one, which is the German one. The German government seem to be kind of geared towards legalizing the recreational use of cannabis, or the adult use of cannabis, as I'd prefer to describe it. But yeah, and there was a recent survey done over there in Germany, exploring the benefits of legalizing cannabis. And one of the benefits that they found is that $5 billion, I don't know, is that dollars it's saying here? $5 billion a year could be generated. So 4.7 billion euros could be generated. That's generated, and cost savings. So it includes cost savings there. And they mentioned the cost savings then within the article of 1.3 billion euro cost saving to the police and judicial system. That's massive. Like, okay, leave them have their 1.3 billion euro, but allow them to focus more on thieves, and like don't take that money away from them. Like let the cops keep the money that they have, but just make them actually go after real criminals. Like I don't think we should be taking money away from the cops if we decriminalise all drugs. No, leave them have the money that they have. Give them their 3 billion euro every year for the Justice Department. But just take away this 50% of the workload that they had with targeting fucking drug users and drug dealers and stuff like that. Massive benefit it would have for society. And then on top of that, like they're talking about 3.4 billion euros per year in additional tax. Like that's just additional tax revenues. Like that's what it would mean for the revenue, like for the exchequer. But for the economy, like you're talking like tens of billions there. Because to generate 3.4 billion euro in tax, like you have to be spent selling well over 10 billion euro worth of products. Like so, this is huge stuff. Like so, it's really interesting to see that they talk here that it's potentially going to happen by 2025. But if they're going towards that, if the conversation continues as it seems to be, we could be seeing the decriminalization of cannabis there in Germany very soon, and hopefully that this 2025 it will happen a bit sooner. Or no, sorry, it's not 2025 actually. I read that wrong earlier. That's when they expect the more than 3 billion euros in annual revenue by 2025. So that's actually going to happen a bit sooner than 2025, which will be huge for Europe as well, because it'll be one of the biggest countries to take the step towards this, a giant leap in this direction, and allowing for cannabis to be opened up, to the wider adult population. And we drive on then in another headline there for you. Sorry, no, just pop it up in the line. Yes, we go to India. We're in India, in Sri Lanka. Again, lawmakers over there are eyeing up the potentials of legalizing cannabis production and using the plant to bump up, the downturn in their economy as to other commodities that were once popular over there, things like rubber and stuff like that. They used to rely on these as a way of generating money there within their own economy, but now no longer these things are as popular as what they once were. And now they're looking at cannabis as being a potential alternative there for that. So happy days there. Well done to them over there in Sri Lanka. Hopefully this will actually turn into something positive there for them. They are only talking about the industrial use of it, but they do make reference there that it is being used as a medicine over there, and that it needs to be opened up wider. Like one doctor over there actually is quoted here in this article as saying that we need to be able to immunize ourselves with the plant. I don't know, is that in reference to the current pandemic or something like that? Is he seeing the potentials there as to, CBD and stuff like that in the plant? One sec there, guys. Why are you getting Alexis? What's that? Alright, guys. I'm gonna have to bounce off there, guys, unexpectedly. I will be back again though on Wednesday, guys. So apologies for that abrupt ending there for the end of the show, but something has just come up there, so I have to drop off. But I will be back, guys, on Friday with more 420 news. And yeah, stay blazed out there, guys. Keep it lit, and peace. Sorry there, guys, for the sharp ending. Apologies.